Visio and project. This is something that what we see, and I've seen it while at Microsoft, and I still see it now that I am using my knowledge to further organizations with their Microsoft negotiations. Visio and project installations are often overlooked as a large cost savings opportunity, but they are. You should always investigate project and Visio. Many companies just renew software assurance and or their cloud subscriptions for project and Visio without any questions asked. We have it, we're probably using it. We don't have any insights if we are using it correctly or not. One of the first things that we always do when we inventory requirements for a new contract is look into project and Visio and potentially reducing this. There is very limited benefits to having software assurance on Visio and project. And for cloud subscriptions, if you're using older versions of project and Visio, you're not even required to do this. So why are you buying these licenses? What are we doing here? So again, the question is how to make sense of this from a data perspective. And Matthias is going to enlighten you all.
Mm-hmm. And why did this happen in many organizations where in recent renewals, maybe already the last one or the one before, Microsoft converted your software assurance to subscription licenses? Simply because in the end of the day, the Visio and project will not be the biggest chunk in your contract, but then again, we do approach them as low-hanging fruit, because in the end, if you can optimize there, also the effort you're taking for this part will not will be in relation to also the costs relating in the contract. But there's still optimization possible here. And then how do we get to that optimization? Again, giving you some insights here in how do we approach this from a data processing methodology perspective. Well, first step, again, is looking into the commercials, is looking at what have you purchased in the past. And again, depending on where you base yourself from, some organizations would only take into account what licenses they have under active cost. But that's not the full story. If in the past you've converted your software assurance on project and Visio to subscriptions, you've stopped paying software assurance, of course, but you still have the underlying perpetual license, which you're entitled to. So if you've done this very recently in 2020, you have obtained rights for Visio or project version 2019 perpetually, so forever. While Microsoft has converted your perpetual licenses to subscription licenses, for which you can use either the online version, but also gives you the right to have a local copy of Visio or project. So in order to identify how you optimally distribute your licenses, first get an overview of which users are using project or Visio online from the portal. Second step, build your inventory on all Visio and project deployments so that you know where do I have Visio and projects installed locally and where do I use it online. And then of course, there's some other cases where you deploy it via Citrix, etc. But to be honest, let's not go into detail there because the principle still applies. Once you know who's using it online and who has it locally on his device, simply you have two repositories, and here just connect to two repositories. Have an overview of which user is using which device so that you know in the most optimal manner how you need to distribute the licenses. If you have a user that's both using it online and has a local device that's eligible to have as a local copy from your subscription license, well, then that usage population you can cover with your subscription licenses. If you, on the other hand, you have a population which actually has an online license, a subscription license, but is actually not using it online and only has an old installation of version 2010 or 13 or 16 and is very happy with that, well, to be honest, why are you paying an active cost to Microsoft for a subscription for which you still have old perpetual licenses? So here, again, it's not the biggest chunk of money in your contract, But it is a low-hanging fruit that is often overlooked simply because companies don't really bother to look into. But on the other hand, some analysis can quickly yield some significant results in relation to what you're paying to Visio and project. Some key takeaways here again, Floris.
Yeah. Again, to stress it, being able to make distinction between a user and device-based subscription for Project of Visio will help you make sense of your environment. It will immediately show you how many licenses you have in excess of what you need. It will show you the options that you have to license the estate that you need to license. Because if you buy subscriptions, if you have old licenses without software assurance, what is the optimal way for you to license it? And better question even, what's your future roadmap look like? How do you want this to land towards the future? That way you can create your compliant licensing position, and that can be used to negotiate your enterprise agreement correctly. Many times the device and user licenses are used interchangeably while holding different licensing models. So it's important to know the difference there as well. The licensing model you will need will be identified easily, and as such, it will help lead to a cost-optimal way of licensing. And finally, again, to repeat what I said earlier, as a license queue, as a general rule, we see that renewing software assurance on your device-based licenses is generally not needed. Many companies still do this, no questions asked. So ask yourself the question, how much am I spending annually on Project Visio? It might be that for you, it is a very low amount of money, but then again, why wouldn't you remove this if it's not needed?